How to get respect from a 5 sensory as a 6 sensory. This is a complicated question because you can have different opinions about certain topics. Maybe one side is politically aligned with one way and then the other side is politically aligned another way. And how do these two sides kind of politically come together and shake hands and get along? It's like, think about the politics way back a long time ago where the Democrats used to shake hands with the Republicans and they'd go across party lines to sometimes get things done. You don't hear about that very much anymore. It's very rare in our polarized world. But that's sort of what 6 sensories and 5 sensories do when they get together. They cross their political lines in order to align for a common goal. And in order for that to happen, there has to be respect. So how do you have 5 sensories respect you? First of all, number one, you have to have strong boundaries. So if they do something negative, the first time you can talk to them about it. That's the part where you're being a bit nice and you're saying, hey, no, this behavior is uncomfortable for me. Second time, maybe you leave the situation. You use your left and your right foot and you go if they do that behavior again a second time and they know and you've talked to them about it before. And then the third time you just don't engage in the relationship anymore, because unfortunately when people break your boundaries, they're breaking the relationship. You're like, well, why can't I just stay and keep the relationship going? Well, you can stay, but when people are complaining that they're in bad relationships or abusive relationships, that's basically what has happened. Is the person has broken their boundaries more than once, or maybe they didn't even set boundaries in the first place. They just allowed themselves to be treated disrespectfully, and then it doesn't go anywhere because there's no respect. It just goes downhill. So when people are behaving disrespectfully, there has to be some kind of amends made, and if it doesn't happen, you have to let things go in the relationship, especially on major issues, especially if they're attacking your values or something that's very important to you. If it's something minor that they did, let's say they did something minor, like they flirted with the waiter or the waitress or something like that, just ignore it. In that case, just ignore it if it's minor, because usually people are doing that in your face to kind of get you annoyed, right? Because think about it, if people want to cheat, they usually do it in secret, right? They're not doing it in front of your face. So if they're doing it in your face, they're trying to trigger you, right? And they're trying to see if you'll react and show how much you care. So in that case, it's better to just ignore them. So if you're not sure what to do, if you're not sure you should set a boundary, if it's something minor, then just ignore it, you know? And then maybe set a boundary later if you feel the need to do that, if it was something they shouldn't be doing again. Depends how bad is bad, and each example is different, and that's where coaching can be very helpful, because then you can dig into the details and dig into the example so you know what is the best course of action in this particular situation. The next thing you want to do in order to have respect between 5 sensories and 6 sensories, as a sensitive person, you have to have intimacy on your terms. So whatever that means to you, maybe that means you are a practicing Catholic and you cannot have sex until you are married, or Muslim, or Buddhist, or whatever your religion is. Maybe that means you don't have sex until 4 to 6 months in. That's when you're comfortable becoming intimate. Maybe it's after 3 dates. Maybe you're very comfortable in your body and you're okay with them disappearing on you potentially after you've been intimate and it doesn't bother you. Really depends how you feel about your body and how you feel about it. You can tell what is the right course of action by how you feel afterwards. So if you have like a shorter timeline and then you don't feel good about it afterwards, it means you have to lengthen that timeline to feel comfortable when you're becoming intimate. So if you feel comfortable and you feel okay about it after, whatever the timeline is, then it's probably the right timeline for you. So any situation that makes you feel insecure, and particularly for women, this can be an issue. We do have certain hormones that release after we're intimate. So that's good to be aware of. We tend to attach more after we're intimate. So if you don't think this person is worthy of your attachment, then I don't recommend becoming intimate. And if you become intimate for any reason out of fear 5 sensories will lose respect for you as a 6 sensory. Like if you're trying to please them or make sure they don't walk away for somebody else, you're actually going to lose them if you engage in intimacy for that reason. Because funnily enough, as I've mentioned in other videos, 5 sensories do have an intuitive sense of their own, whether or not they acknowledge it, but they do have it and they can feel it when you're acting out of fear as a 6 sensory. And so you don't want to leave them with that impression. So don't get too involved with them until you're really 100% ready. And then my next tip for showing respect to 5 sensories as a 6 sensory is that you should let them take the lead and do most of the planning, most of the finances. Having said that, it's okay to kind of offer to contribute. It's okay to offer and say like, hey, I can get the next coffee or something like that. If you are starting to like them a little bit, it's all right. You can do that. As long as you're seeing that they're making the effort overall, it's okay to initiate a little bit from your side as a 6 sensory, but just make sure that they're the ones who are taking most of the interest, most of the lead, and they're putting in most of their effort towards you because you're the more sensitive one. You're the one with special gifts to share. Not that 5 sensories don't have gifts, they do, but it's a bit different. It's a bit more secular and it's a bit more practical, real world practical. And when they provide for you, that is them showing their gifts. That is allowing them to experience excitement and joy in their own way. Whereas for us, it doesn't feel so good for us as 6 sensories to do that a lot. A little bit of giving is okay though. That's not a problem. You don't have to be so stuck, in your ways that you're always letting the other person give to you. You can give a little bit back too, but it's just because we have the tendency to overgive. When we think we're giving a little bit, we might be giving a lot. And so we just have to be really discerning and really careful every time we do choose to give to make sure we're not overwhelming or disrespecting the other person. You'd be like, my giving is disrespecting the other person? And it's like, yeah, it can be. It's like you're a teacher that's going on and on for an hour and you don't realize that the student has fallen asleep. In the same way, if you overgive as a 6 sensory to a 5 sensory, they kind of fall asleep on you. So you don't want to do that. And with that note, I think I'll wrap up for today.